Moshi Moshi.
Hello?
I'm Zeb Ramsbotham.
I'm Annie Ramsbotham.
And we're the Rambling Ramsbothams.
Our journey might be rambling, but we hope this podcast isn't. And today we're in a hotel room, because we actually moved out this morning.
Yeah, I guess it's really more of an apartment.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, yes, it used to be an apartment because we're in a room, but there's a separate room that's adjoined by a sliding door, and that room has a sink and a washing machine and like a shower bathroom situation that all seems very like apartment-esque, but it was a very affordable hotel situation, and so
it's really crazy. It was 5,000 yen for one night for two people, which is kind of crazy. And I don't know, this is kind of like feels like a very old Japanese apartment.
Yeah, this is an aside, but it's very easy to travel in Japan with affordable hotels.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know what it's like in Tokyo because we don't go to Tokyo as much, but around Japan, if you're doing like a road trip or train trip or something, it seems fairly easy, especially with like business hotels that are right off the highways and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The hotels here are much more affordable, even with like the currency difference. They're more affordable in Japan than America.
Yeah. I just think this place is so interesting because I know that there are probably other ALTs, and we're about to talk about moving out of our own apartment, but I imagine that there are a lot of people in Japan that live in an apartment that's pretty similar to this place that we're staying in right now.
This is what I was prepared to have to live in. Like, when you applied for the JET program and you don't get to pick where you live, I was like, well, I have to be okay with you getting placed in, like, Tokyo or somewhere that's really populated and us just living in a room for, like, a year or more. But
that's kind of what I assumed, too. And so that's why it's interesting being here, kind of now, like, after we've moved out of our own apartment, to just kind of get a glimpse at, like, what could have been. It's pretty interesting to think, oh, what if we had ended up living in a place like this? Yeah,
did we say we're in downtown Kanazawa right now?
Yeah, we're very close to Higashichaya, or Kazuemachi. Actually kind of right behind Kenroku-en. And
so this is the capital of Ishikawa Prefecture. But yeah, today we moved out of our apartment in Uchinada. So we'll talk about that, about the whole process leading up to actually moving out and having the landlord check everything off. We'll also talk about what we did today with the paperwork and then some fun things in Kanazawa, like eating some cat bus bread.
Yeah.
And also I've got a little story about the most expensive grapes in the world.
Well, so how did we get to today? So basically, we've been kind of moving out in waves, and even last episode, we kind of talked about the process of moving out. And so we've been working on it. So last week, we had kind of the very first step of the big move out was we took a bunch of stuff to 2nd Street, which is kind of a local...
It's like a Goodwill in America, but they're a little bit more picky, and they'll buy things from you, where Goodwill, you just give it to them. Yeah,
it's almost like a cross...
Like a consignment store.
Oh, I was going to say almost like a consignment store, but a consignment store, you put the goods in there, and then you get the money when they sell them. This, you give it to 2nd Street, and they lowball you and give you...
Which is fine. I mean,
pennies on the dollar, and then they sell it for you.
Yeah.
And you don't get any more money.
Although we gave a lot of things to 2nd Street, and we did get almost 1 mon, so almost $100. We probably got $75 from 2nd Street, which was more than I thought we were going to get. And you had an old computer monitor. Well, it was new when you bought it, like a year ago. And that alone was 3,500 yen, so like $20 right there.
Can't believe it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we started, was taking stuff there. And then, of course, we also started throwing stuff away because our trash nights, which I finally just removed trash night from my iCalendar on my iPhone, because I've had like this reminder since we moved here that Tuesdays and Thursdays are trash days.
You get like a little watch notification.
Yeah, well, Tuesdays and I guess Fridays. So I take the trash out Monday and Thursday night.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So we've been taking out trash. We've been taking things to secondhand stores. And then also we left things to my successor.
Yeah, the person who's replacing you at your job. So we had to get rid of all our furniture.
Yeah, so we've been communicating with them, and basically our deal was, we'll give you everything for free that we got for free from my predecessor. But then we have bought some like nicer things, and so we kind of made a super good deal.
I mean, I hope that they feel it's good as well, but
I think so. I mean, knowing what we paid for it was brand new, and we took good care of our stuff.
But we got a good use out of it, and so I feel happy that someone else can enjoy it now.
Yeah, so we kind of passed that on, and then really in the last week too, we talked about all the farewell speeches last episode. So that kind of continued, and then also filling out paperwork. And then...
Well, so when we got the furniture for your successor, your supervisor and coworker came to our apartment, and they actually very kindly helped us move all of that to the school so that it could be in storage for the next person. And by storage, they mean a hallway. Yeah. It's like... I guess one good thing about the school not having as many students as it used to have is that there's a lot of empty rooms and hallways, and it is summer, so there's even less people. Yeah. But, yeah, there was space in the hallway, and so that's where a bunch of things are now until... the next person comes. Also, I think that it helps that my successor is showing up, like, tomorrow. It's like 2 days from now. Like, they're already in Japan, and they're coming, I think, on the 31st. So it helps that really the stuff's not in the hallway for too long. But that was, like, a big step. And then, but we had kind of nicer furniture that we were looking to, I don't know, and, like, give to someone else. And then also the apartment that my... successors moving into is a little bit smaller, so they weren't sure about the amount of space. And we had like a couch and like a dining room set and stuff like that. So we had some friends that were willing to buy that stuff. So that was the second wave of moving furniture, and they came, and there was a truck, and we moved it all down to the truck. And then it wasn't until the couch and the dining set was out that it really started feeling empty. We did have to camp on the floor of our apartment. I mean, it's like glamping, but because we had AC and we were in our apartment, but we had to sleep in sleeping bags on our living room floor. Yeah, which unfortunately, for a couple nights. My sleeping bag pad that I've had for over 10 years now, which I guess it's been a really good run, because usually those things get like holes in them and like fall apart much sooner. It decided to fall apart. Yeah, finally broke. Which we need to get you a new one tomorrow before we start the road trip in earnest. Yeah, we'll figure it out. It was just kind of a bummer that it made it over 10 years, and then like on the floor of an apartment it decided to give out, and I've had it like in the woods and on rocks and on beaches. It's good timing. It really held on. But so we did that, and we've been kind of... Also, it felt strange because we got rid of all our curtains. Yeah, so we've been waking up at like 4 a.m. when the sun comes up. I've been sleeping with a t-shirt over my head. Yeah, so that's been a little bit rough. I do have an aside about when we sold the furniture to our friends. Oh, yeah? They bought it with a 1 mon bill. Oh, yeah. And it was the very first new 1 mon bill that we saw. That's true. Or any of the new printed bills. We finally got to see one. Yeah, so it took... And it was within the month that it got released, which is soon. Pretty nice. And I didn't tell you, I actually already saw a new bill. Oh. Sort of. So where? I was in the post office because part of our moving process was shipping like all of these boxes, which is a little bit harder than it sounds. You can't just put a bunch of stuff in the box and ship it. You have to itemize everything and not only declare it, so you can't put anything embarrassing because they're going to go through line by line and ask you exactly what it is. And you might even have to show them pictures. Yeah. But you have to put you don't have to put the weight, but you do have to put the HS code, which is like the international identification code for getting through customs. So you have to look up all that and put the value. So anyway, that took a really long time. And I was in the post office, and they were going through my box to make sure that I actually didn't put any batteries in it and that everything was like okay to send. And a girl came in, and she had one of the new 5,000 yen bills. But it was interesting because it was folded up in her phone case, and her phone case was clear, and her phone was like half sticking out of her back pocket. And so I could just see like the money that she had in her pocket. It was kind of funny because I don't know, it like her phone was just hanging there. Yeah. With like a ton of money in it. Yeah. Huh. But yeah, that was the first time I saw the new bill. I didn't see one until we got handed one. But that was like really nice, and it was very helpful that they came and like picked up the furniture. But I also think that was part of the deal of why we let it go for so cheap, is to help kind of get it out the door. Yeah, I mean, it was very helpful though. And it wasn't, your supervisors didn't have to help us, but they did. Yeah, it was super nice. So that was really nice. Yeah, so we kind of had this like whirlwind cleaning things out. And then also this whole process, we've been, eating dinner with people that we're probably about to not see for who knows how long. Yeah, that's sad to think about. But... Yeah, so we had a couple farewell dinners.
And then we also had a special dinner, which Annie was very excited about.
Why was I excited about it?
Well, I think at first you were kind of a little on the fence about it.
Is this the school buffet dinner?
Yeah. And then when we got there, you were like, oh, this is an experience.
Yeah, because I haven't had an all-you-can-eat buffet for a while. And so this was first time I've had one. So this dinner was special because not only was it with friends, it was with your coworkers to kind of celebrate you leaving, not celebrate you leaving, but to celebrate your time at the school and also to celebrate summer.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like mostly for summer vacation starting. So they have these like seasonal dinners kind of where, teachers go and, I don't know, get a little wild and kind of enjoy their time.
Well, you say get a little wild because not only is it an all-you-can-eat buffet, it's an all-you-can-drink. And so for 2.5 hours, it's all you can eat and all the alcohol you want.
Yeah.
And not only beer, not only wine, but like liquor also. You could get highballs, as many as you want.
They basically have like
on tap.
Yeah, they have like it looks like a bar set up with like taps. And you go up there with your mug and you just keep filling up. So
dangerous. I don't know how like college students don't just come in there and just get absolutely blasted because it's not that expensive.
Do sometimes.
I guess they just don't. The drinking culture in Japan is a little bit interesting. Like, it's not as frowned upon to be just belligerently drunk. Not belligerent, but like to be blackout drunk in public.
It's okay to be a quiet alcoholic.
Yeah, it's
like if you're a functioning quiet alcoholic, it's totally okay. If you're like a belligerent alcoholic, it's not okay.
But it's not okay because you're loud, not because you're drunk.
Yeah, no one cares about your health problems. They just care that you're disturbing other people. So
this was fine. Everyone was like reasonable, but it is just interesting that you can have an all you can eat and all you can drink. So we didn't.
I guess it's a good combination.
Yeah, why not?
Like if you're drinking a bunch, I guess you should also be eating a bunch to help soak everything up.
But yeah, this was a fun experience because it was the first work dinner that we had been to.
Yeah, we had almost been to a few others, but so when we first moved here, Japan was actually still under its kind of like COVID lockdown. So when we first moved here, they actually just weren't doing them because it was hard to do it and have it look good, kind of in a public-facing position. And then we were going to do one because they were like finally kind of like ramping it back up. And we were going to go, and it was winter, and we had this crazy blizzard. And so they actually canceled it because there was too much snow. And then the next one, we were both kind of like, it's like kind of expensive. I think it was like 1 mon each. Mm-hmm. And so we skipped that one.
Yeah. So this one ended up being 1 mon together.
Yeah.
And so it was very affordable, reasonable. And it was also in a hotel, which I think is where a lot of times people will go for buffets, which is something I wouldn't really have realized until we lived here. But just like how when you go to a hotel regularly and you wake up and there's a buffet breakfast, a lot of times the same hotels will have buffet dinners, but you don't have to stay at the hotel. You can just book a spot at the dinner. Yeah,
there's like a huge banquet hall. And I think it is interesting because I feel like in America that used to be more popular. Maybe I'm making this up. Yeah, like a hotel dinner, it used to be, it's kind of fancy. Like you can go, and even in Europe sometimes, in my head, it's this way.
I really only see that in movies.
Yeah, well, I think that's where it comes from, is like, it's kind of like an old trope, but we don't really do it anymore.
Yeah, I've never eaten at a hotel that I wasn't staying at.
Yeah, but in Japan, they still do that. It's still like, that hotel is a really nice bar. Or they have like a really nice restaurant.
Yeah. I guess it makes sense. And it's a more incentive for people to actually stay at that hotel if they do have a good restaurant and stuff.
And if it's all you can drink. You can get smashed and then they'll just take you up to your room.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, why not?
Well,
so it was like a really neat, it was a neat experience, and it was nice to talk to some of my like coworkers.
Yeah, and I hadn't met most of them, and so that was fun to finally hear, like, put a face to the name of people that I had heard about that you were working with.
Yeah, something that I don't think I told you, but I learned while we were there.
Tell me.
Do you know what a naginata is?
No.
So a naginata is like, basically it's a pole, and on the end of the pole there's a sword.
Okay.
And it's called a naginata. And for whatever reason...
Does this have to do with the buffet?
Yeah. So for whatever reason, it is like a weapon that was popular for women.
Okay.
And so kendo is the act of like sword fighting with like the bamboo swords.
Like not real swords.
Yeah, apparently that's a very like masculine, like male dominated space. And women are, you know, culturally usually do naginata, which I guess is this longer, I don't know if it's like more elegant. They couldn't really explain it to me. They were just like, oh, like it's for the women.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh, okay. So my vice principal, who paid for part of our meal,
which
was very, very
kind.
nice. She apparently is a former naginata world champion.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Very random.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, random to me, but to her, she probably grew up in that world.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't know how many people outside of Japan participate in naginata.
Sure. But even nationally ranked is incredible.
Yeah.
So to be world ranked. Because I think I was in a different conversation, but you guys were talking about how she had been to America.
Yeah.
Was it for that?
I think so, yeah.
That's crazy.
Because I think she was like, kind of didn't really know how to explain it because she was talking about like, she was making like a sword chopping motion.
Right, but it's just different
Yeah,
than
and I was
sword.
like, oh, like kendo. And she was kind of like, yeah. And then later we were talking about it again and they were like, oh no, it's like not kendo, it's different. And so then they were trying to explain this pole sword thing
That's really
to
cool.
me.
Another thing that I thought about at the dinner that was so different from buffets that I've eaten at with friends or family in America is that people would go to the buffet and get things on a plate and then bring it back for the whole table, like a little table sharing plate, which is very kind, but it's something I'd never thought about in a buffet because I always thought of a buffet as being like a very individual, like you eat whatever you want and you eat as much as you want, but like you just kind of, it's like fend for yourself, like go back up there and get as many little chicken nuggets as you want, but you don't have to bring anything back.
Yeah, that's kind of my point of view too, is that you go to the buffet to get what you want to eat.
But I was so surprised, and like in a nice way, like people would go up and get like a bunch of little shrimps and then they would have like a bunch on the plate and they'd be like, oh, please help yourself to these shrimps I brought back. And I'd be like, thanks.
Because there was one point, it was when we very first like sat down, or we went up and got our food and we sat back down, there was like a plate of like karage and like
which is
French
like chicken
fries.
nuggets.
Yeah, and it was just like there at the table and I was like, oh, that's like someone...
Yeah, maybe they didn't want to eat it anymore.
Well, and then I was also thinking like, dang, we're like at a buffet, you can get anything you want, and they just got a plate that was just the karage and French fries, and I was like, they must really like karage and French fries.
People would get multiple plates, and it was no big deal.
Well, then it was just like sitting there, and then finally someone kind of like scooted it into the middle of the table, and then I saw like different people pick off of it, and I was like, oh, it's like...
It's a party platter.
Yeah, it's like a plate for the table. Like,
which is such a friendly way of thinking about a very individualistic buffet style dining. Because there was also kind of a hierarchy. Like the younger people, I mean, no one was expecting this really or like making anyone do this, but it did seem like the younger employees were often getting up to refill drinks and would refill the drinks of their like senior coworkers.
I think, yeah, it kind of seemed like that in the very beginning where things were like a little...
More formal.
More formal, yeah. And then when things got loose, it turned into like, oh, you could tell who enjoyed hosting and who kind of wanted everyone to have a good time.
Yeah.
And they would like go up and get everybody drinks.
Yeah,
and
they
come
were
back.
like, I'm going to get another one, so I'll refill
like,
yours
I'm going to
too.
come back with like 5 beers, so I hope you're ready. Like, it was kind of like, whoa.
But yeah, it was fun because it was very casual and like you could eat and drink as much as you wanted, so it felt very relaxed and very fun. So I enjoyed that a lot.
It did have the minor aspect though of like, I wish that I spoke Japanese better.
I do too, yeah.
Because it was such like a nice moment, but there would always be like hiccups with like language and communication.
Right, totally on our end. Because people were trying to speak English to us and we were trying to speak Japanese, but we can only go so far.
Yeah.
And it would, sometimes the surface level conversations just aren't enough. And so I wanted to have deeper conversations with people.
They're not necessarily enough. And sometimes they can be almost strangely exhausting. Because it's the same conversation you've had so much. And so then you're kind of like, well, I wish we could talk about something else.
Well,
but also I don't know how to talk about something else.
Yeah, because I wanted to talk about what it meant for us to have lived here and to be welcomed by them. And, like, thank you for this dinner even. Like welcoming us to this. And it was just too much for my, like, meager level of Japanese.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I did have a really good time. And I think that, you can tell when someone's enjoying themselves. And so I think... we were all having a nice time and they all knew that we were appreciative. But yeah, sometimes I wish that I could express it better.
Yeah. And then when we were leaving, I thought it was funny that we got on the first elevator down. And so it was like a very kind of like...
They clapped for you.
Yeah, it was like kind of like a very quick, like painless goodbye.
Yeah.
Because it was like, all right, you're on the elevator now and the doors are shutting. Okay.
Yeah.
But then we were stuck on the elevator with a couple of my coworkers. So it was like kind of this awkward, funny silence. So there was this like big, like clapping and farewell. And then the doors shut and we were just in there like, haha. So what are you guys doing?
It was nice though.
It was a good experience. I'm glad we went.
One of your coworkers gave us a present even. He gave us some sweet beans.
Yeah, it was super nice.
Yeah. And beans are a dessert in Japan. I don't know if that's the same for other countries, but it's something that I didn't really think of as a dessert in America because beans are almost always savory that I can remember.
Yeah, sometimes my dad would do lima beans and rice with butter for dessert.
For dessert?
Yeah.
That's not even sweet, though.
I know, that would be like the last thing he would eat.
Interesting. It's like a very carb, like comfort food.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's normal. I'm not saying it's like appropriate. I'm just saying I've seen beans for dessert before.
Interesting.
But not in the Japanese way.
This is not just beans. This is like beans covered in sugar, so they are sweet.
It's mostly sugar, but
yeah,
with a little bit of bean holding the sugar together.
Yeah, but it is good, and they're like these specific beans were a specialty of this area, so it was very friendly and thoughtful.
And they're really good. We already cracked them open.
Yeah.
Some good beans. Some big beans, too.
Yeah, they had like the huge butter beans that were covered in sugar. So we did that this past week. So all the furniture is out, all the things are shipped. So all that was left was to clean the apartment and then to do the formalities, like the paperwork and the actual getting out. So that's what we did today. So now we're caught up to this morning, I think.
Yeah. And it was not very like hectic, but I just didn't know what to expect. So I haven't been like dreading the moving out process. I just literally didn't know what was coming. And so basically I had to fill out this form online, like notifying the apartment company that we were canceling our lease or that we weren't renewing it and we were leaving. There was a little funny hiccup with that because initially I filled out all the dates and the times and submitted the form. And then they sent back an email and they were like, ooh, actually, you're going to owe us, it was like 150,000 yen.
Yeah, which is like 2 months rent.
Yeah, they were like, you're going to owe us a bunch of money if you don't move your dates. And this was like, literally, I told them that I would cancel it on like July 31st. And they were like, actually, you needed to be August 2nd or you're going to owe us so much money.
Yeah, it was like 3 days off. But it didn't, it didn't make sense because we would have paid through the end of the month.
Yeah, technically they said that I was like breaking contract if I left
2 days early.
So thankfully we figured that out. And then they arranged to send a guy to your apartment who basically comes in and inspects everything. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting because they're not looking really for cleanliness. They're doing like a cursory inspection to see
if everything works.
Yeah, if everything's functioning and if you've actually like damaged anything.
Yeah, like he opened all of our cabinets and he opened all the windows. He made sure the doors all opened and shut.
And even the curtain like sliders, like the curtain rails, he like moved like all of the little curtain holders.
He was very fast and thorough. But yeah, it's kind of funny.
I could tell he's done it before. He was good. Apparently he went to Uchinada High School.
Oh, how do you know?
Because my supervisor or one of my coworkers and him were talking.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, they were like, oh, who do you know there? And he said...
not only did this apartment employee come to check things out, your supervisor and coworker came again to our apartment so that they could help translate, which was very helpful. Yeah,
I keep thinking, like, that, oh, this is going to be pretty simple. They're going to come. They're going to look. We're not really going to have to speak that much. And then it becomes complicated. And then I'm like so thankful that someone's there that speaks English.
Yeah, because apparently when we moved the washing machine out, which belongs to the school, we took like the little elbow part of the drain with it, which that one piece of plastic belongs to the apartment. So we had to go back to the school and get that little piece and bring it. So that was nice to have that to explain what we messed up. But
yeah, and then there were some other like quirks about like... yeah, just the conditions of certain things, which I think to us it's kind of like, well, you've lived there and it's been lived in, so...
I guess in America when you rent a place, you don't own it, and so you're paying this monthly fee, which is kind of a pain because you're not investing in anything. You're paying a mortgage, but it's convenient. But if anything breaks, unless it was negligence or something, usually the landlord fixes it.
Yeah, it's like the owner of the property.
Yeah.
Because it's their property. They're kind of on the hook for it.
And it's not like that apparently in Japan. Like any kind of wear and tear that seemed normal, like we scuffed the wall and it cost like $100.
Basically, yeah.
Because they're going to have to replace that section of wallpaper.
Yeah, there's this special type of wallpaper that even it's in this place out in the kitchen area. It's not in the room that we're sitting in, but it's this kind of like
spongy.
It's like textured, spongy white, and it's in a lot of apartments.
You can put a wet sponge on it and like wipe it down. It's not paper.
Yeah, and I also think you can like cut out chunks of it and then put in new patches of it, and I guess because the texturing, it doesn't look as obvious.
Oh yeah.
I don't really know like the story, but it's in a lot of places. And so he was like measuring things with a tape measure, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna have to replace like all these panels. And then he started like adding stuff up, and very quickly it went from, we had a deposit of 98,000 yen,
which is 2 months rent, which is like almost $800.
Yeah, like very quickly, like, oh, we're gonna like get some money back, to actually you owe us 8,000 yen.
Yeah, so we owed $60.
Yeah.
So apparently with cleaning fees and damages, which we didn't like break anything, but just with like scuffs, and I think it was really just the scuffs, because there was a cleaning fee that was mandatory in general.
Yeah, so the mandatory cleaning fee was 40,000 yen, and then on top of that there was a mandatory cleaning fee for the air conditioner, which was 15,000 yen. So right off the bat they were like, no matter what, no matter how clean your apartment is, you're losing 55,000 yen,
like
basically
about a month's rent.
Yeah.
Out of the security deposit. But then after that, we still somehow racked up the rest of it.
Yeah. Like another 40,000 yen in damages.
I was a little bummed because our apartment was not dirty or really like, there was nothing messed up besides just living in it. So yeah, I mean, there were some scuffs on the wall, but I didn't think there was $500 worth of scuffs on the wall.
I didn't think so either. And I kind of think that, I mean, I know the cost of living in Japan is low.
Yeah.
But I always kind of think that's kind of rolled into the cost of renting, that they're making so much money off of us as tenants. But anyway, I was glad that my coworkers were there to kind of help
and
explain.
To be like, yeah, this is normal and you're not being scammed, because I would have been like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Like if it had just been us. But when they were like, yeah, I mean, I guess this is just the cleaning fee, I was like, okay, I guess it is. So maybe security deposits in Japan are different, because in America, when you pay a security deposit, at least every time I've ever rented, you pay it, and then unless you do something drastic where they have to spend hundreds of dollars to fix a hole in the wall or something,
like break windows, and I also think it's
you
more
get it
like,
back.
Yeah, it's like more of like a security deposit that you're gonna be like a good tenant, like you've put some money in. You're not gonna
skip out on rent.
Yeah, like if you left early, there goes your like rent is paid for.
Yeah, so I don't know if there was ever really a chance for us to get that deposit back. It might have just been like key money at the start, but
yeah,
it's okay. It's not like a make or break thing. It was just kind of a surprise that we hadn't run into renting other places in other countries.
Yeah, we just thought we were going to get like a nice little bonus, but instead they were like, actually, you owe us a bonus. Like, you're welcome for being able to rent this place.
Yeah, which, whatever. It was a really nice apartment.
Yeah, I think it was totally worth it, because we kind of got lucky, and we've talked about this a little bit, that kind of after the Noto earthquake, a lot of people from the Noto Peninsula moved south, and a lot of them ended up in Uchinada. And so a lot of the more affordable rentals are being rented now. And so we kind of ended up, I feel like, with a pretty good place. And we've even talked to other people who will tell us how much they're paying in rent. And their place is like
a little smaller.
Yeah, it's like a third of the size or half the size. And
they are like closer to the city, but I think we are a very convenient location.
Yeah, I think we kind of lucked out with that place.
Yeah.
So
it was bittersweet to move out for sure.
It was, yeah, because it really was so nice, and I felt more emotional about it once everything was out.
Yeah.
Because then once everything was out, it looked like it looked when we first moved in.
Yeah.
So I could picture,
feelings.
like, oh, I can remember standing in here like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, like all the uncertainty of like, where do we start? Are we gonna like it?
Yeah.
And we did.
Yeah, now we're here at the end, and it's, yeah.
So after the landlord, I mean, I guess he's not the landlord, but after the representative for the company tallied everything up and we paid the stuff that we owed and we signed the form that said, yep, this is the damages.
Yeah, we did that, didn't we?
He was like, okay, so now you have to leave. Because, I mean, it makes sense, but, like, once they've approved everything, you kind of have to get out of the place.
Which is funny because it's like, but I thought that you told me that my move-out date was August 2nd, or else I was breaking contract. And they were like, well, actually, no, you have to leave now.
I know, yeah. So, whatever. I mean, we were going to leave anyway, but it's funny because, yeah, we technically had, like, a few days left on our lease.
Yeah.
But,
oh, well.
So then the next thing was to go to town hall and to officially change the resident status at town hall, which is another thing that we don't do in America. So in Japan, if you change where you live, no matter whether it's in the same prefecture, you still have to go to the town hall and provide a notice that you're moving in or moving out and get set up with them. And for us as foreigners, we have these Zairu cards, which are like a foreign residence card. And I don't know what it's like if you're an actual resident, like permanent resident in Japan. But when you have this foreign residence card, it's kind of like a temporary visa that you have to keep renewing. They put the address of where you're staying on the back of the card, so you have to update it.
Yeah, so you're like numbered, like tagged.
Yeah. Which is fine. It actually has come in handy a lot because if people are, if you're filling out forms, you can just flip your card over and you're like, here's my address. But yeah, so we went to town hall and your supervisor came with us there, which was again very helpful because...
Yeah, I'm so glad she did because this was another situation where I thought, oh, this will be easy. We'll go to town hall. We'll tell them,
check a box.
Sorry, I moved out. Like, thanks. I enjoyed living here. We'll see you next time. And we went there and they immediately... were like handing it. They were like, do you have the form? And we were like, what
form?
And they brought out this like packet of papers and they were like, well, you have to do the form.
Yeah.
Like,
luckily they had the form, so I guess we didn't have to bring a printed copy. Thank goodness. We did. So at first we were just going to fill out one as like a household because we live together because we're married. But because we're flying out on different dates, and that's because Zeb had his flight reimbursed through the school and had to book it separately from me, so that was a whole other thing. But because we're flying out on different dates, we have to fill out 2 different forms because our leave date is different.
Yeah. So
that was fine. Your supervisor was very kind and helped us with that. And then after they have the notice of our leaving, we had to fix our insurance and pension things. So your supervisor is our tax representative. So she'll help with actually getting the pension refund and all of that once we've left the country, which is hugely helpful because you need somebody physically in the country so that when the pension refund gets processed, somebody can actually get it to you.
Yeah, you have this weird middleman where actually, so the lump sum, so 80% of our pension will go straight to our accounts. So we'll get 80% of our pensions just like deposited in our foreign bank accounts. But then if you want your tax back, because they tax you for 20% of that, then if you want the extra 20%, you have to have like a representative who's in the country, and they fill out a form and they go to the tax office. And then the government of Japan gives the tax representative that 20% of the money. And then you're relying on that person then like
to
wiring you. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to pick somebody you trust.
And who's going to be in the country for...
Yeah.
At least a year. Which
is very nice because, I mean, it makes sense that they would give you your pension money back because you're not going to use it if you don't retire in Japan. But I kind of thought that they would withhold more than they do just with the service of just, I don't know, holding pension.
Yeah.
But they do give you back pretty much all of it. If you're like, yeah, I'm going to leave the country now, I'm not going to retire here, then they're like, okay, well, here's your pension back.
Well, it's because they have, so I think a big part of it is they have like agreements with other governments, because you can also do like a rollover where you can take that pension and they'll basically give it to your home country government. And so if you haven't been paying into your pension in your home country while you've been abroad, then Japan takes that money and gives it to your home country pension system.
That's nice.
So I'd imagine it's the same for like Japanese citizens who are living maybe in America. The Japanese government is like, well, we want that money. And so they probably have some kind of agreement where they'll do the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a whole nother hurdle that I wasn't really prepared for.
But it really wasn't that bad because your supervisor was there.
My supervisor was there.
Yeah.
If we hadn't asked her to go, it would have been a nightmare. Because we would have been like, oh yeah, we just came to tell you bye.
We were just filling out this form.
And they'd be like, oh.
But it was a relief for me too, because my insurance will be good until the end of August, or until we leave, which is a huge relief, because I was worried that once we signed the form that we weren't residents anymore, because my health insurance in Japan is through the town hall. I was kind of like, am I gonna have to buy travel insurance for this last little bit at, like, you know, once I guess I'm just a tourist right now. But no, it does still cover me until I've left the country, which is a huge relief.
Which is nice, because mine kind of does and kind of doesn't. So my insurance ends on my last contracted date of work. So
but then the JET program
in 2 days.
Covers you.
Yeah, the JET program has like accidental something insurance, and so they have like a little supplementary policy that's good until I'm back home in America. Yeah, so I don't think it's quite as good as your insurance, maybe, but it's still something. So
I don't know what mine does. I mean, yours is probably so that like you can't go to get some last minute doctor's appointments, but it would help you if you had to go to the hospital suddenly. Yeah. So I don't know.
Or if I died, they'd probably give you like $10,000 or something. There's like a policy about accidental death and like dismemberment, and it's like, yeah, we'll give you $10,000
wow,
for that.
That's all it needs. Yeah. So yeah, we had a busy morning. We had a lunch.
We really had a busy week.
Well, I guess that's what is to be expected with an international move.
Yeah.
It was nice that everything was in phases, so we could mail boxes and then do furniture stuff and then do moving out and then do paperwork.
It makes you realize how there are so many horror stories out there about people getting left like literal garbage from their predecessor. Even the CIR in our town, he said when he first moved in there was like really expired food in his cabinets. And it's because they didn't change apartments, so they just inherit each other's apartments. So there's really no incentive to clean out because someone else is going to move in.
Yeah.
And so, and you don't know that person, so I guess they don't really care if you know that they're a slob. And so you hear so many horror stories. Some of the worst ones I've seen are when a person lives in an apartment that's furnished by their school, and then their predecessor tells them that they need to buy their furniture, and so they sell them furniture
that they would have gotten for free anyway. Yeah. That's just messed up.
I know there's some like shady people, and some of the horror stories I kind of understand because it is such a process to move out, that if you're not planning ahead and like actively working on it, then
it's just sad
you kind of run out of time.
The people who are coming here and they have, you know, they didn't need any of that.
Yeah,
it's
they didn't need
that's
like
their welcome party.
A moldy cabbage like in a drawer in an apartment.
Yeah, but it takes a while to move, I think, always, but I think that having it staggered helped a lot. And now we have everything in the back of our little K car.
Once again, everything's in the back of that car.
Once again, we didn't have a car to start.
No, I was thinking when we fled to Toyama after the Noto earthquake.
Oh, yeah.
We had a lot of our worldly possessions just dumped in the back of that car.
And speaking of the car, after this road trip, it was a rental. It's a long-term rental, so...
It's a lease.
So we're going to return the car at the end, so...
Yeah, which is really nice.
That's what we're doing with that.
Yeah, everything's down there.
Yeah, so after town hall, when we were officially like, okay, I guess we're done... We had a celebratory lunch at McDonald's because we were starving.
Straight to that McDonald's. Because we just had a couple bananas for lunch, for breakfast, because of course we don't have like a fridge. The gas was cut off. Yeah, it was rough.
But it was fine. And then we went to Kanazawa. Here we are. We had a fun little afternoon. So we went to a bakery first. I guess we were just really feeling the like food tour, but we came downtown and we were walking.
What kind of just caught our eye?
We were walking to get coffee, and then we walked by there and we were like, oh, this bakery looks amazing. And it's because they make these breads that are like the Totoro movie cat bus. Like it's a bread shaped like the cat bus. It's a sculpture. It's like a work of art of bread. Yeah, and they have a whole tray of them, but it says on the note like not for sale. And I've always been confused by that, but apparently that's just the display ones. So when you go inside, they do have fresh, like, sculpted...
cat breads.
Yeah. So I bought one, and we bought some other fun things to eat. They had a really good custard bread.
They did. I got an apple pie. I got all kinds of stuff. And really it was because I wanted coffee, but sometimes I want to eat like a little bit before I drink coffee because
You get distracted by bread?
no, I just want like something in my stomach so the coffee doesn't like go straight into my blood.
Oh.
Get me too hyped up. So I was
guess
like, I
that
should
makes
put a little
sense.
layer of bread in there and then let the coffee sit on that. And also, it's a street that I really like, and they had
Yeah.
a really nice looking bench outside their bakery. And I thought, man, it'd be nice to get some breads, sit on that bench,
That's what we did.
and watch the little Kanazawa world go by.
And then we hung out in the hotel for a few hours, I think, just kind of like lounging and enjoying the AC.
Well, first we went to the Asanagawa and sat. No, we went to the Saigawa.
we went to the Saigawa.
And drank our coffee there. Went to a Lawson, got some iced coffee.
Yeah, so the Saigawa is the bigger of the two rivers that are in Kanazawa. And for dinner, about an hour ago, we went to the other river, the Asanagawa, and we got a convenience store dinner, had some udon noodles, and we just sat there and ate some noodles from the convenience store by the river. And it was honestly 10 out of 10.
Yeah, kind of watched the world go by on the other side of town at Higashichaya.
We had two river time, just sitting and looking at the river today.
Both rivers. And you know what? We started at the confluence is not the right word.
What are you talking about?
Where the river dumps into the ocean. What's that word?
I don't know.
I don't either.
The delta?
Maybe. But we started down there at Uchinada because the rivers dump kind of out into both sides of Uchinada. And then
I guess.
And then we swam upstream, and here we are.
But yeah, so now all that's left to do is start our road trip, which is exciting.
It is nice that we have everything in our car, don't have an apartment anymore. The world is our oyster once again.
But yeah, it's
we
cool.
can do whatever we want.
Scary and exciting.
Yeah.
So, do you have a word of the week?
I do.
I want to go first.
Okay.
Because
Wow.
I have a story that goes with mine, so I might be a little long-winded. My story begins with some grapes that I saw at the grocery store last night. Not last night, I don't know. The days blend together, but one of the nights that we didn't have a fridge anymore, and so we had to go to the grocery store for dinner. And when we went in, there was a bunch of grapes, not like a ton of grapes, but like just one bunch of grapes in a carton, and it was one mon 9,800 yen, so 198. Sorry.
19,800
Yes,
yen.
yes, which is about $128, which is crazy for one bunch of grapes.
Yeah, but so picture if you've seen like a nice comic or cartoon or maybe even movie, and there's some, Greek gods lounging around Olympus, and they're feeding each other grapes. This was like the bunch of grapes that you would see them eating.
Yeah, they're like the best grapes you've ever seen.
They're
but
pretty
like,
pristine looking.
For $128 for a bunch, the grapes better change my life. So I looked up what is the deal with these grapes, because they are called ruby Roman grapes. See? Oh, Roman, like the Olympus. Apparently.
Maybe that's why they call them that.
Did you know that these... So, a long time, in 2008, a bunch of grapes sold for $10,000, which is, just an absurd amount. But that was apparently the best bunch of the best harvest or whatever. So, they got a bunch of attention in 2008 for being the most expensive grapes in the world. But did you know that they only come from Ishikawa Prefecture?
Oh, I didn't know they only came from Ishikawa Prefecture.
Yeah, I've never heard of these grapes before. And
Maybe we should buy some.
That's
a little farewell present.
Not for $128.
Let's do it.
But for people who are more concerned about budget, you can buy one grape for about $3 to $10 per grape if you want to just taste a grape, which is crazy. But maybe I would buy a $3 grape just to taste it.
Maybe when we come back to Ishikawa at the end of our road trip, we should buy a nice grape.
Apparently they are just very labor intensive. They have to grow them in greenhouses, which, don't they grow most things in greenhouses?
This is like Japan's whole relationship with fruit, is that they really take care of the fruit and then they pass that cost on to the consumer.
Well, so specifically these grapes are like a very special breed. They experimented with crossbreeding different kinds, and they're not going to release like which kinds these are. But specifically Ruby Roman grapes have to have 3 criteria before they're sold and before they are officially ruby Roman grapes, because they have to be the perfect grape. They actually reshape the grapes with scissors and everything so that they look pretty, and they adjust lighting and things so that the grapes grow evenly in this like bushel.
It's too much.
So criteria number 1, each individual grape has to weigh at about 20 grams minimum, which is a hefty grape. They're like a ping pong ball size grape.
It's a big grape.
Perfectly round. The outside's purple, but the inside, which I don't know because we didn't cut into them or even breathe close enough to them, the inside's green, like a kiwi.
So why do they call them ruby?
Well, the outside's like a ruby. The ruby Roman grapes, I don't know. The outside's very red. But that's not one of the criteria.
I thought they were purplish, but...
Oh, I don't know. I thought, well, whatever. We didn't look close enough. So they have to be 20 grams. Number 2, each grape must have 18 degrees Brix of sugar or more. Apparently Brix is a measure of sugar. That just means it's really sweet.
So they measure every single grape?
I don't know how.
So if I bought this bunch of grapes and then I measured every single one and then one of them didn't meet this criteria...
Yeah, you could sue the
could I
grape
get
people.
my money back from the grape people?
Yeah, that's what you wanted to do is like out of spite spend $128 and not eat any of them.
Measure every single one.
Number 3, the color of the grapes must match the official color chart. So they have an official chart and they are like looking to make sure that they actually match that.
It's too much.
Yeah, I don't know what happens to the grapes that don't meet that.
Throw them away. Straight in the trash. Can't sell inferior grapes.
Yeah, so that was really interesting to me. Shocking that there was so much. Oh, I forgot. Back to
your word of the week.
My word of the week is takai, which is expensive.
Yeah.
And we hadn't used takai before.
Oh, I'm surprised.
I know, but I also thought takai when the apartment representative came and was
he was like, actually, you owe us money.
Yeah. I was shocked.
He was a little loose with that calculator. He was really putting a lot of digits in there. I was like, brother, like,
please. Anyway, so yeah, we've missed out on the world's most expensive grapes, but
we'll try them when we come back.
Maybe, probably not, but
okay.
They're out there.
One of us isn't adventurous.
No. What is your word of the week?
Mine is horo nigai.
Which is
bittersweet.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was there was actually a word for that.
Yeah, and apparently you can use it both emotionally and flavor.
Just like the English word.
Yeah.
That's cool. Horo nigai. I'll use that one.
There it is.
Well, thanks for listening. Hopefully the sound quality is okay from this apartment.
Yeah, because we mailed all our podcasting equipment home.
Yeah, the post office was shocked by that, by the way.
I bet.
Because you have to line item everything and podcast. I don't know why I wrote this. I should have just put, like, microphone.
Yeah, you should put singing, karaoke microphone.
Yeah,
they would have been like, wow, okay, that's cool.
But the name of the microphone is, like, something podcast mic.
No, it's called the pod mic.
Okay, well, I wrote it down. And they were like, podcast mic. And then they were Googling it. And I was like, no, it's a... So then I showed them pictures. And I was like, it's just a microphone. And they were like, a podcast microphone, though. And I was like, yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just like a microphone. But to them, it was like, it's a big deal. Well, then they were trying to figure out what a podcast mic was versus any other kind of microphone. So anyway, they're on their way to America, I guess.
Anyway.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening again.
Yeah, and be sure to tune in next week.
Tune in.
Yeah, for our first episode about our road trip.
Yeah.
And we've been planning a little bit of it this evening, and it's going to be a doozy.
I hope it's going to be fun.
We got a lot going on.
Wow.
So yeah, we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.